In this video, I'm taking a drive from State Highway 2 along State Highway 58 onto Transmission Gully. So I just thought I'd make this video. I was driving back from Masterton the other day, and I just recorded some video along the way. So this is a kind of motorway, I guess. So this is heading towards Wellington City from Upper Hutt, or I don't know what's the area called, Stokes Valley, around the area. It's got a better name than that. It's not coming to me. Anyway, it's just a long motorway drive, and it was a bit drizzly. They've been doing a lot of roadworks on State Highway 58 over the last 2 years. Actually, notable, if you look at the sky there, it's a little bit orange. And that's to do with the Tonga volcano has put a lot of particulates or chemicals up into the upper atmosphere that's making the sunsets an interesting colour. There's this railway station here, which has an overpass to the suburb on the right hand side of the road. You can see in the right hand lane the traffic's all backed up. This is because this is recorded about 5 p.m. When it's sort of rush hour for people going from Wellington City back to Upper Hutt in the evening. So this is the roundabout on the State Highway 58 Interchange. This got built a few years ago. It's been running for, I don't know, five years or more, and it's really helped a lot. Anyway, and then I'm going on to State Highway 58. So this goes to Powatahanui, and if you stayed on State Highway 58, it would get you over to Whitby or Mana or Plymerton, depending which way you drive around the estuary. So they've just been doing all of this up over the last few years. Double laning. It's quite steep, this bit here, going uphill. So they've been double laning the uphill portion so that if a big truck is going across to get onto the State Highway 1 Transmission Gully motorway, I suppose there would be a bit more traffic going on this road than there used to be. So they've they've increased the double laning and made the road wider and safer over the last few years. The roadworks took ages. There's still roadworks on parts of this road where they're still, I think, broadening the road and putting in extra lanes. And there's a lot of safety barriers, and there's the information signs at the side of the road there as well. On the right hand side of the road, you can see those power pylons. That's the DC power lines coming in from the South Island, which go from Benmore in the South Island. So there's DC power lines up the middle of the South Island. It's about 700 kilometres of DC power lines, something like that, from South Canterbury. Or is it North Otago there? I think it's South Canterbury. All the way up, the DC power lines go to that station that we passed already, where it's converted back into AC electricity. The power lines, the undersea cable actually runs in both directions, so it can carry power from the North Island to the South Island, but mostly it transfers power from the South Island to the North Island. The North Island uses about twice as much electricity as the South Island does. There's a lot of, even though I think about 4 million people live in the North Island and 1 million people live in the South Island, something like that. See this 50k here. There's, it's just continuing on roadworks and stuff. They seem to be doing work on this road constantly. It feels like they've been doing roadworks on this road for 5 years. I can't even remember any time in the last 2 years where they haven't been doing roadworks. On the left hand side, see that barrier? That's a motorcycle safe barrier. So a lot of the with the wire rope barriers in the middle of the road, but here there's not. There's just marker pegs and the motorcycle safe barrier on the outside. I think that's designed so that if you fall off your motorbike, you don't hit if you're sliding across the road, you don't hit the posts that are holding up the barrier. And then into this bit of roadworks here. I'm not actually even certain what they're doing. It's like they're doing something, but you can't always see what it is that they're doing. Are they just making the road wider? On the left hand side, there's houses there. That's actually a place where you can buy a pre-built house or a house that's been relocated. So in a lot of New Zealand towns and cities, they're increasing urban density, which means that you can remove an old house off a section and build some townhouses on a city section. If you're close, if it's a section that's close to public transport routes, buses or the metro trains, then you quite often developers they buy a house, move the house off the section, put it in a house sale yard like that yard there, and then build new townhouses. You might be able to put 6 or 8 flats on a section that used to only have a single family house, and they're doing that to increase traffic density. There's somebody, a brave person riding their bike on this road. There's a little edge there, but the weather was a bit drizzly and the light was quite low. It's not a good place to ride bikes. I've got a bike and I've been riding it a little bit recently, even though it's winter. But when the spring comes and the weather's a bit warmer, I'll ride my bike more. But I'm not really keen on riding my bike in highway traffic. When I lived in Wellington City, I used to. I think for 6 months I rode my bike for commuting, just my mountain bike. I just rode it to work. But I almost had an accident. I almost got run over by a car one day that was, it decided to sort of turn with quite short notice, and I almost got run over. And then I just decided to take the bus to work after that. There's a railway, not a railway. There's a golf course. There's a golf course on both sides of the road here, where they do cross the golf players cross the road during the games. And then there's this temporary 50-kilometre zone here, which is extremely frustrating. This 50k zone has had temporary signs up for years. I mean, like 4 or 5 years. It's just ridiculous. And it's to open a gateway to the thing there on the left that's almost never open. I would say that most of the time I've driven past it, that gateway has never been open. So that's a 50k zone for an intersection that nobody uses. That's what it looks like to me. I've never seen anybody drive in or out of that driveway. It just, everybody thinks it's a joke. One of my friends, he drives across this road every day when he commutes to work, and he said he's followed police cars that don't slow down. So this is an 80km/h limited road. He said he's followed police cars that just drive through that 50km/h zone at 80km/h. They don't even consider slowing down for that permanent temporary 50k zone. We're almost at the Transmission Gully intersection here. There's 2 roundabouts, so it's got like I don't know, I always think of it as a dog bone roundabout. There's 2 roundabouts with a short road underneath the expressway. So at this point, the expressway, the motorway, is up on is up on a bridge. I can test that the reason why it's up on a bridge is, well, it makes the angles better. It makes it more efficient. But also it's safe from flooding up on the bridge. So if this ground area here flooded, the motorway would be up on this bridge, as you can see, and it won't flood. So this is one of the big roundabouts. So all lanes can get on and off the motorway at this interchange. See how it's sort of like a dog bone shape? This is quite good. I wish they'd built the Kapiti Road intersection like this. We'll get to the Kapiti Road intersection at the end of the video. So now I'm going to turn and go on to, there's Pawatahanui on the left, and now I'm going on to the transmission gully to go north to Paraparaumu. So how far through? We're 10 minutes through the video, and there's going to be about almost all the rest of the video will be on this expressway, and or it's actually technically a motorway. Some of it is a little bit rough. You can see how much the camera is shaking around on the on-ramp there. Some parts of this road are very smooth. It has high quality smooth asphalt, and other parts of the road are chip seal, and the efficiency of my car increases a lot on smooth asphalt. I've noticed. My car's an electric car, so it has a good graph that shows you how much power you're consuming as you drive, and asphalt is about 20%. It gives me about a 20% power saving. So, you know, that's a significant difference in the smoothness of the road. But you can see how this is quite juddery. I don't know if I'm going to give you commentary all the way through this, because, you know, it's a long road. I guess I can say, so on the left here, see there's a pod up on a pole there, just past one. There's radar pods. There's radar. So this whole motorway, the whole length of the transmission gully motorway, is monitored by active radar, and the radar can create imagery. It's two-dimensional radar, so it can see it can see where every vehicle is and the speed of every vehicle. All vehicles are being monitored at all times. So when you're driving on this, they can run a traffic flow model that can watch you driving. If you're driving along and you come to a halt, say you get a flat tire and you pull over at the side of the road on the strip, so that the strip between the barrier on the left there and the white line, that's wide enough that you can park a car out of lane almost everywhere along this whole motorway. So if you get a flat tire and you pull over to the side of the road, they will actually send a truck out to make sure you're okay. So they'll send a truck with hazard lights. See, just on the left there's a little pullover bay. So those little pullover bays, you can actually drive. You can drive along till you find a bay, and then you can reverse backwards into the bay, and that would be a better place to change your tire. They're not everywhere, but they're where they could fit them in. Those bays are also where police cars will sit if they're doing speed patrols or speed cameras or anything like that. This road has got 100 km/h speed limit. It's quite steep. There are some places in New Zealand where some motorways do have 110 km/h speed limit, but they're mostly all in Waikato. There are no 110 km roads south of Taupo, that I know of at least. I drive around the country quite a lot. There's a bridge there. So you can see how the road's so smooth when you go over the bridge, and a bit juddery on the rest of it. the transmission gully is been open for about 4 months now, something like that, and they've resealed, they've fixed some bits of it. When it first opened, there was quite a lot of free gravel chips sitting on the surface, and a lot of people got broken window screens on the first day. So there's another stopping bay there. So if you do get a flat tire or have a problem with your car, there are some places where you can stop that are much safer than other places. Anyway, as I was saying, that if you do stop, the active radar will notice that, and the people that run the control thing will send a kind of a rescue vehicle, a vehicle with lights, and they'll come and park their vehicle behind you, and then they might even help you change your tire, or call for whatever. If you need a tow or whatever, they'll organise a tow truck. There are some places on this road where there isn't cell phone coverage. I remember working on a project 5 years ago or more where they were talking about installing cell towers for transmission gully phone coverage, and they said that they were going to do it, but they've just put it off and put it off and put it off. Maybe it's one of those things that got delayed due to pandemic reasons, and they just never got around to installing them. I think they should be building them now, because because this is, it's called Transmission Gully. Yeah, it's going up a valley. So this road generally is constantly gaining altitude as you go. And I forget how tall the top of the pass is, something like 270 meters. There's a couple of weather stations up there. That sign there was saying low speed vehicle lane ahead. So quite often when I'm driving up here, if I just want to save energy in my car, I'll drive in the slow lane. That way I can drop back my speed a little bit, from 100, drop it down to 90 or whatever, and then I just don't waste as much energy. Because usually I'm driving this way, I'm just driving home, and I'm not in a rush. So if I'm not in a rush, I'll just drive a bit slower. And when you got 3 lanes, so all of Transmission Gully's built with 3 lanes on the uphill side, and the default is to stay in the centre lane. So you actually have to leave the centre lane and move into the slow lane. You can see how there's a hard concrete barrier at the edge there, because this is where the cutting is. The cutting is about 70 metres deep at the height of the cutting, and so there's been a lot of reinforcing work done on the side there, and so this concrete barrier, it will stop rocks, if any rocks or small slips slip down the hill. That concrete barrier will stop those rocks from rolling out onto the road, or if there's a small landslide or whatever. There's a lot of very clever drainage work done on the cutting slopes to prevent the cuttings from collapsing. On the right hand side, so that's the eastern side of the road, once you get past the top of this hill, there's actually a very nice natural forest which contains a lot of big palm trees. There's a certain type of native palm tree, Nikau palms, that grow in this region, and where I live, I live not very far from where I take the exit at the end of this drive, and there's actually a Nikau reserve forest not very far from where I live, and it's quite amazing to go into a relatively temperate forest that's full of palm trees. It's quite pretty. So now we're at so that sign there was saying that was the catchment, like the difference between the two regions. There's, I guess, the Paraparaumu region on one side and the Kapiti region on the other side. All of this is still within the Greater Wellington region, regional council, Anyway, so now we're on the downhill, and because we're on the downhill, it's gone back to 2 lanes. And this sign here is telling you about there's a vehicle arrestor lane. So if you are driving down here in a truck or a heavy vehicle, and your brakes, if your brakes malfunction, there's a lane here on the left hand side on the very steepest part of the downhill. This is about an 8% grade downhill. You can drive on this big off ramp, and then you'll just drive into gravel, and the gravel will stop your vehicle, which is better than crashing at the curve at the bottom of the hill. So here where these yellow markings are, just drive onto those yellow markings and just drive in the middle of those yellow markings through the road cones and onto the gravel strip. The gravel strip is slightly aligned to the right. It's just on the other side of that barrier there, and that gravel strip will stop your vehicle from crashing at the bottom of the hill if you have brake failure. As I was saying before, it's quite near sunset, but the sky is particularly kind of this orange color because of the Tonga volcano particles. I think it's I forget what the particles are. I feel like it's chlorine, or I can't remember. I used to know what it was, but it makes the sky a very interesting color. Like the clouds are very orange. It actually reminds me of some sorts of impressionist paintings from like I don't know, 150 years ago, which might have been they might have been painted at the time of one of the other giant. I was trying to remember what the Krakatoa eruption. I pulled over into the fast lane there because of the merging. And this asphalt here is quite nice and smooth, and the video's a little less juddery. There's the Marines Memorial is just coming up on the left hand side. So there was during World War II there was a large camp of American soldiers that were in New Zealand preparing for the Pacific part of the war. So if you take the off ramp there, there's also a tramway in the park. If you go there on the weekend, I think it's Sunday. It might be Saturday and Sunday, but I think it's Sunday. They operate a tramway in the park, which has got historical city tramway electric trams, and you can just there's an ice cream shop. Maybe they sell coffee. I think they sell ice cream. It's sort of like a sunny afternoon activity. You can ride these historical tramways a couple of kilometres down to the beach. I'm not sure why that car was just parked at the side of the road. I think this is still technically a motorway, and you're not actually supposed to be parked at the side of the road, especially because they could have taken the previous off-ramp and stopped. There's some car parks down there. There's also that park I was talking about, Queen Elizabeth Park, or is it Queen Elizabeth II Park? I forget what it's called. Got the commuter railway on the right hand side of the road. That's the commuter railway that goes from Wellington up to Waikanai and Paraparaumu. There's trains every 20 or 30 minutes on that line. It's a dual tracked railway. Mostly commuter trains, but it's also the main trunk line for freight trains and trains that go up to Auckland as well. There's a daily train, although I'm not certain if it's operating. I haven't seen it for a while. I heard a thing that said that maybe that railway isn't operating the Wellington to Auckland trains at the moment. That sounds like pandemic things. I've made other videos about regional rail programs. There's a daily train that goes up to Palmerston North as well, like in the morning and in the evening for people that work in Wellington City. I've made other videos about regional rail projects. They're looking at a program of buying a bunch of new hybrid trains that are like diesel electric hybrids that can run on the electric overhead lines in the electrified parts, and then run on diesel and battery in the non-electrified parts of the network. There was an off-ramp there that was the Raumati South off-ramp, the first off-ramp for Paraparaumu. You'd get off there if you're going to go to Coastlands. And then we're only a couple of kilometres away now from my off-ramp, which is the Kapiti Road off-ramp. We divert outward from the hills now. That's a cycle and walking over a bridge there that gets to the Raumati suburb. If you're riding your bike from the train station, that will get you to some of the suburbs on the other side of the expressway. All around the expressway in Kapiti and everywhere, I don't know, since we came down off the steep hill, there's a lot of cycle and walking lanes at the site. So there's a cycle path just to the side, and there's sort of actually cycle roads, and those cycle roads have underpasses which go under the motorway and weave around the motorway. So that's a bridge over a local road. But there's a cycle lane just to the left here. And on the left and right side of the road now, there's some quite big kind of swamps, which are where a lot of native birds live. You get these ducks and pukikos, and also I guess you might get some geese and swans and herons hanging around there. Mostly ducks and pukikos. Pukikos are native swamp hens that are they live on wetlands. And then up here is my off-ramp. This is also where you take the off-ramp to go to Kapiti Airport, or if you go for a day trip to Kapiti Island. The Kapiti Island, you can take a boat out onto a conservation reserve, and you can see the rare native birds that live on Kapiti Island. There's some flightless birds over there. So here's my off-ramp, and it splits into two lanes at the end, and I can't remember whether I got the green light or not. Sometimes you get a good run. Yeah, lucky green. And then there's the underpass. So this underpass here, they should have built this with the two roundabouts instead of these traffic lights. This whole traffic light setup here is terrible. I still contest that you could just turn this into a big roundabout and it would flow better than the way it does, because you seem to get a lot of needless stops at this intersection. I always feel like the people who built this intersection should have played more SimCity. There was actually plenty of space that they could have built a much better type of interchange here, but they didn't. Anyway, that's the end of the video. Thanks for watching. You can see some of the local cycle lanes that are just starting to pop up. They're trying to do more to promote cycling, but one thing that's actually quite good around here is that there are cycle lanes that are separate from the roads. Anyway, that's the video. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day.